They discovered the heavenly being holding a key to the abyss. Unraveling hidden secrets. Few knew what truly happened that night. Under a darkened sky, the air crackled with tension, as if the universe held its breath. A blinding light poured from the figure, shimmering like diamonds against the shadows. It was a sight that no mortal eye had ever witnessed. The being stood tall, cloaked in brilliance, exuding an aura of both fear and awe. Its hands cradled a key, an ancient relic that whispered of forgotten worlds and untold mysteries. In the year 70 AD, in the heart of Jerusalem, a city thick with history and steeped in prophecy, souls longed for answers. The temple lay in ruins, the air thick with sorrow and uncertainty. Each stone told a story, each whisper echoed faith and doubt. The night of revelation came when the world was hushed. Candles flickered and shadows danced on the cobblestones as people gathered, eyes wide with wonder, drawn by a pull they couldn't explain. Suddenly, as if summoned, the heavens cracked open. Waves of energy radiated from the celestial being, sending ripples of disbelief through the crowd. A man, his heart racing, dared to step forward. His voice trembled, breaking the silence. What does this mean for us? The question hung heavy in the air, anxiety tightening around shoulders. The being tilted its head, a spark of compassion woven through its luminescence. This was the moment of reckoning. The key symbolized hope and despair. Confused murmurs spread like fire. Was it salvation or doom? Time seemed to stretch, seconds felt like hours. The crowd held its breath, gripped by the weight of the moment. The air was electric, with cries of astonishment and whispers of fear. What if the key unlocks the abyss? A woman gasped, her hands clasped in prayer. What if it brings forth destruction? Another urged. The questions spiraled, hanging in the charged atmosphere. Would they dare to learn what lay beyond? The being, ever watchful, remained silent, waiting. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air grew thicker as the thrumming of hearts matched the pulsing light of the celestial being. Time felt distorted, an echo of the past intertwining with the present, as if ancient memories whispered their truths into the ears of the gathered souls. With every breath they took, they were reminded of the weight of their existence, of lives intertwined by threads of faith and fear. From among the crowd, a young girl stepped forward, her innocent gaze piercing through the shadows. Is it true, then? She asked, her voice a gentle chime against the cacophony of doubt. Can the key unlock our dreams or our nightmares? Her question was innocent yet profound, tugging at the very fabric of hope that clung to everyone present. The heavenly being turned its gaze upon her, a shimmering tear of light cascading from its visage. It did not speak, but the silence resonated with the wisdom of ages. Those in attendance felt a deep stirring within, as if every fiber of their being was invited to ponder the mysteries of their existence. What does it truly mean to unlock doorways that lead to the unknown? To dare to tread paths not yet walked? A murmurous murmur swept through the crowd, emotion swelling and ebbing like waves against the shore. An elder, weary with years yet strong in spirit, raised his voice. We are but mortals. To delve into the abyss is to tempt fate itself. What awaits us beyond that door? What darkness might it unleash? The being responded silently, a luminescent glow intensifying in its core, as though reflecting the fears and hopes of every heart gathered before it. In that moment, time itself seemed to fracture. Memories of past generations burst forth in flashes: exiles yearning for home, warriors seeking peace, prophets dreamt of salvation. As the gathered people processed their history, a feeling began to settle over the assembly. It was more than fear, it was a thrill of divine anticipation. They stood at the precipice of understanding, staring into the possibility of what the key might unveil. The possibilities stretched like the open sky above them, vast and uncharted. Would the key unlock the answers they sought, or would it release darkness from its chains? Then, just as the weight of the moment became nearly insurmountable, the being raised the key slightly, allowing the essence of its light to refract in all directions. Shadows danced to both illuminate and obscure the truth. The light beckoned them not to take the key lightly, but to grasp it understandingly, for the path ahead would require courage like none they had yet known. Is it the key that defines us, or are we defined by our choices? The thought echoed in the minds of the many, swirling like a storm of emotion. Would they, could they, step forward into the unknown, holding tightly to their faith, as night shrouded the world outside, the celestial being awaited, pulsating with anticipation. The gathering held their breath, each soul caught in a moment pregnant with possibility. What lay within the abyss? Would it grant them insight into the very nature of their existence, or would it engulf them in darkness from which they could not return, embrace the unknown or recoil in fear? What would they choose? What revelation would the key unveil? The silence that enveloped the gathering hung thick, yet within it pulsed a heartbeat of collective yearning. The young girl, emboldened by the weight of her question, stood unwavering under the gaze of the divine presence, her small form illuminated by the aura of grace that surrounded the being. It seemed to offer her a thread of connection, urging everyone to acknowledge the significance of her inquiry. As each moment stretched, the elder's apprehension found resonance in the hearts of many. Fear morphed into contemplation, the night deepened, and stars began to flicker overhead, an echo of uncertainty twinkling like distant cosmic whispers. Some among the crowd began to ponder their own lives, the paths they had walked, the dreams woven through their days with threads of hope and despair. It was then that an unexpected voice broke through the stillness. A young man, his features shadowed but resolute. What if the key holds more than just an entrance to the abyss? He spoke, his curiosity igniting a spark within the assembly. What if it is a mirror reflecting our deepest truths? A gateway not just to darkness, but also to the bright genesis of rebirth. The being shimmered, light refracting and swirling around its form, in response to the young man's boldness. The crowd shifted, absorbing the gravity of his words. What if their suffering could give birth to clarity? What if, through confronting their fears, they could illuminate the path to understand their purpose? Yet, with that light came shadows. The air thickened with unspoken truths, personal nightmares whispering through the fabric of their minds. They remembered times of loss, betrayal, and sorrow. Would they be ready to confront the haunting specters of their past? What if the key opened doors to memories they wished to forget? Would facing those specters lead to healing or despair? Suddenly, the girl spoke again, her voice a gentle balm amidst the rising tide of uncertainty. Do we hold the power to shape the key's promise? Can we change what comes forth, or does it stand as a revelation entirely beyond our control? Her gaze met the celestial being, as if seeking both affirmation and challenge. Swells of murmurs followed her question, the crowd oscillating between hope and trepidation. Could they redefine their destinies, or were they merely marionettes in a grand divine narrative? Every soul seemed drawn back into reflection, recalling the moments where they felt powerless against the tides of fate. What paths had they trodden that fell one way or the other? As the weight of these inquiries filled the night air, a soft illumination enveloped the young girl, causing her presence to glow faintly in the dim surroundings. She was both a part of this gathering and yet distinctly different, an embodiment of innocence mixed with ancient wisdom. The being cast a gaze toward her once more, and for a fleeting moment, a veil between realms felt penetrable, opening a glimpse into the unseen. It was a moment steeped in potential, where what lay ahead remained uncertain yet intoxicating in its promise of discovery. The glow around the being intensified, casting off tendrils of brilliant light that danced and flickered like fireflies, igniting the minds of onlookers. How many hearts carried hidden secrets, waiting beneath the surface, yearning for liberation? Finally, a tremble rippled through the assembly as they collected their resolve. Each spirit pulled the threads of their past closer, merging with the pulse of the celestial being and the key it guarded. And as shadows whispered promises of the abyss, they collectively held their breath, caught between dread and anticipation, teetering upon an existence full of paradoxes. What lies on the other side of the threshold? How deeply can they venture into their own darkness, and what beauty might await should they dare to embrace it? As the path unfolded, their thoughts swirled with a single, haunting question: what might they unearth about themselves when faced with the key to their own abyss? In the soft glow of the celestial presence, the crowd, now hushed with a blend of dread and wonder, felt the gravity of the moment settle upon them like a heavy cloak. The air was thick with anticipation, yet a whisper of resolve began to weave its way through the assembly. As their eyes shifted among one another, an unspoken acknowledgement spread throughout: they were on the brink of a revelation, a chance to uncover depths long buried beneath layers of fear and uncertainty. The young girl, still aglow with the light that enveloped her, took a deeply measured breath. What if we are all a part of a greater story? She pondered aloud, her innocence striking a chord with every heart within hearing. What if our fears, our losses, are not meant to be shunned but rather understood, cherished even, for they are threads in the great tapestry? Her words, like seeds scattered on fertile ground, ignited something in the onlookers. A soft murmur rippled through the ranks. They began to share their glances and gestures, a cathartic response broiling beneath the surface. The young man who had spoken earlier stepped forward, emboldened by the girl's spirit. Perhaps this key is not just a passageway, but also a light that reveals the true nature of our existence. What if by entering this abyss, we do not merely confront the darkness, but also discover the essence of our being? With that, the crowd collectively exhaled. The fear, once potent and paralyzing, was slowly being transformed. They could not help but wonder if unveiling the darkness might guide them toward a truer understanding of love, forgiveness, and connection, the hallmarks of life's ultimate gift. But as they pondered the prospects of enlightenment, the shadows within loomed larger. It was then that the being shifted, its form twisting fluidly as it pointed toward the heavens, where stars twinkled with a brilliance meant to inspire awe. The key is not merely an object, but an extension of you. Its voice resonated, echoing through their souls, weaving into the fabric of their fears and hopes. Each of you carries the power to decide its meaning, to transform it from a harbinger of despair into a beacon of possibility. Summoning courage, another voice emerged from the throng, this one tinged with vulnerability. An elder, weathered by years, stepped into the light. But how do we begin to unearth the secrets that bind us? He asked, clenching his fists. How do we locate the buried treasure among the remnants of our pain? His question hung in the air, laden with depth, drawing out faces etched with struggle. The being regarded the elder with compassion. Remember, the abyss does not exist to render you helpless. Instead, it is a crucible, one that can either keep you bound or forge you anew. What resides within the darkness is not solely dread, it is also potential. You must venture into this unknown, allowing it to reveal the depths of grace that weaves between heartache and healing. The crowd listened, rapt, grappling with this powerful form of encouragement woven seamlessly through the weight of their fears. As they strained to comprehend the profound mingling of light and dark, a flicker of something began to grow within. Could the abyss be a catalyst for transformation? Then, a ripple of doubt echoed across the gathering. If we are to embark into this darkness, a woman asked timidly, tears glistening in her eyes like stars in the night sky, how do we protect our hearts from the shards of pain that threaten to pierce us as we unravel the past? At her query, the celestial being felt a shift, a universal plea for understanding. Protection is not an isolation from pain but an invitation to fortify your spirit. Engage with the roots of your suffering, allowing love to guide your steps. Trust in the process, and carry forth not merely to confront the shadows, but to illuminate those dark corners with the light of your experience. As the weight of its words settled into their souls, a profound silence enveloped the assembly once more. The pivotal question of whether they would dare to face their darkness echoed through their hearts. Would they trust in the promise of rebirth hidden within the abyss? Or allow the shadows of the past to dictate their narratives, crafting a reality devoid of the light that could transform them? Amid this sentiment, the gathering felt the stirrings of courage, but whether it would hold firm as they approached the precipice of introspection remained veiled in mystery. With the key hanging tantalizingly in the air, a new thought emerged. what depths of understanding await beyond fear, in a heart willing to embrace transformation? As the murmurs of contemplation blended with the cool evening breeze, the celestial being held its gaze steady on the crowd. The soft glow around it flickered as if responding to the turbulent emotions swirling amongst the people. In that moment, it began to radiate an even brighter light, casting reflections onto the faces of those gathered, a divine luminescence that momentarily dispelled their shadows. Each of you, the being began, its voice reverberating with both tenderness and authority, holds fragments of an intricate design, a mosaic crafted by the experiences of lives intertwined. The key you seek is not meant to unlock a door but to reveal the pathways within yourselves. A young woman, her voice tinged with vulnerability, took a step forward. What does that mean for us? How do we transform our pain into something beautiful, as you say? Her brow furrowed, confusion painted upon her features. The being smiled gently, as if ready to offer a glimpse into deeper truths. In the heart of each trial lies the seed of growth. When confronted with hardship, more often than not, your instinct is to retreat, to shield yourselves from the anguish. Instead, it is through embracing these moments that you forge understanding, compassion, and resilience. The tapestry of your lives is richly woven with both joy and suffering. Do not shy away from it. The crowd remained silent, each person contemplating how their own experiences had shaped them, their decisions echoing through time like ripples on water. There lies beauty in your scars, the being continued, its form shimmering gently as if alive with purpose. Every strain of sorrow carries the potential for empathy. Each story of sorrow can unlock a reservoir of strength not only for yourself but for others as well. To journey into the abyss, you must learn to hold the weight of your pain not as a burden, but as a testament of survival. The elder who had stepped forward earlier took a deep breath. So by confronting our shadows, we not only seek our truth but also illuminate the paths for others? Is that what you are saying? His voice, now steadied by newfound conviction, lingered in the air like a plea for clarity. Yes, the being affirmed with grace. When one soul dares to dwell in the depths, unearthing the shadows, it creates a bridge of light through which others can follow. With every wound laid bare and every fear faced openly, you transform the nature of connection. It becomes an illuminated pathway for community, healing, and grace. Just then, a thoughtful silence fell upon the gathering, a sense of communal introspection taking root. They felt tethered, part of something larger than themselves yet encumbered by personal uncertainties. The weight of their histories was palpable, yet the being's words echoed a reassurance, a call to vulnerability. A child's voice broke through the stillness, curious and bright. If we're all part of a greater story, what if some stories have no happy ending? What then? Can darkness ever really be part of a beautiful tapestry? The crowd turned to the celestial being expectantly, hearts beating in earnest. Would the promise of light hold firm in a world so often dimmed by despair? In response, the being lowered its gaze thoughtfully on the child. Ah, dear one, the beauty lies not solely in the outcome but in the journey itself. Stories of despair are as valid as those of triumph. They reveal the depth of the human experience. Each thread woven in its own way illuminates those who gather around its narrative. The key is in understanding that joy and sorrow coexist. They make you whole. As the collective realization began to settle, a new question emerged, ethereal and gently probing. How do we find courage in the presence of unresolved pain? Can we embrace the darkness and still dance within its shadows, believing it can lead us to the light? As the stillness enveloped the crowd, the heavenly being maintained its serene presence, radiance undiminished even as doubts flickered in the minds of those assembled. The night grew cooler, shadows stretching longer under the whispering branches overhead, as if nature itself held its breath, awaiting the next word spoken. Each of you stands at the threshold of an incredible journey, the celestial being intoned, its voice soft yet resonant, echoing like the chime of distant bells. Beyond the veil of darkness lies a wellspring of potential, hidden secrets crafted by the Creator. Just as night holds stars, so too does your struggle hold promise. Can you perceive the light within? From the perimeter of the crowd, an elder woman stepped forward, her face lined with the stories of countless seasons. What if the key we seek is buried too deep within us? What if our sorrow consumes us, rather than releasing us? Her voice quivered, yet within it was an undeniable strength, born from years of refinement through suffering. The being regarded her with compassion, as if it could see the labyrinth of emotions swirling within her. "Ah, my dear," it began, "consider the phoenix that rises from ashes. It embodies a profound truth, that which is perceived as destruction gives way to rebirth. The key may not be easily found, but it exists where the heart dares to tread into the depths of its own anguish." The crowd leaned closer, the questions unfurling like petals in the dawn of understanding. A young man, with uncertainty etched upon his brow, posed a question forged from his inquisitive heart. How do we navigate through our darkest moments? What practice guides one through the abyss? Is there a map to follow? The being swirled with shimmering light, embodying the very wisdom it spoke of. Compassion is your compass. When immersed in the tempest of despair, extend kindness first to yourself. Let rage and sorrow be acknowledged, let them flow through you. Then, look outward. The moments of healing often arise when you reach beyond your own suffering, offering light to another lost in their own shadows. The crowd absorbed this revelation, their spirits ignited by the possibility of transformation through connection. But a weight still lingered, a longing for clarity. An older man spoke slowly, with a rough yet tremulous voice. But what if we falter? What if the courage fails us just when it is needed most? Are we then to be lost forever in the pitch of darkness, with no beacon to guide us? The air thickened with anticipation as they awaited the reply, each listener grappling with their own fears of inadequacy. The heavenly being, sensing the pulse of their vulnerability, leaned forward as if to bridge the gap between their doubts and hope. In the moments that test your resolve, remember this: you are never alone. Those who tread alongside you, even in silence, carry their burdens as well. The act of sharing your struggle, of revealing your truest self, fosters trust, as trust cultivates love, and love ignites resilience. A sudden spark of realization transformed the faces of many, and a younger woman, emboldened by the moment, declared, "So, it seems that truth itself can illuminate the path. When we acknowledge our pain together, it becomes lighter, more bearable. And through that revelation, perhaps it too becomes part of our shared tapestry." The being nodded, its form shimmering in affirmation. "Indeed. Each truth you share, no matter how heavy, refines what is already woven within you and between you. In unity, you transmute despair into a collective strength. The act of taking the next step, despite a heart worn from the fight, becomes a testament to courage. As the echoes of understanding rippled through the gathering, a soft breath of wind swept through the trees, as if carrying whispers of the deep mysteries unveiled. Hearts began to stir with newfound purpose, yet an ancient question lingered within: how do we tell stories of resilience when confronted with the inevitability of pain, and can the narratives of our scars truly bring forth strength in others? As the celestial light dimmed but did not extinguish, the crowd stood enveloped in a blanket of reverent silence. Their reflections danced upon the surface of their minds like ripples on water, merging the wisdom bestowed by the heavenly being with their own intimate experiences of heartache and hope. The very air buzzed with the electricity of their shared journey. From amidst the congregation arose a young woman, her expression a blend of awe and confusion. "You speak of compassion and truth, but I must ask how we find it when it feels so far away. In the moments of despair, when darkness hugs us tightly, how do we remain steadfast when hope seems like a distant star?" The being tilted its luminous head, seemingly drawing upon thoughts that transcended the confines of time. "Ah, dear one, the journey inward requires patience as much as it demands courage. There exists a divine paradox: the deeper you dive into your sorrow, the closer you draw to the echoes of light. Hope does not float upon the surface, it resides in the very depths of your being, waiting to be unearthed through honest confrontation with your pain." At this revelation, an elderly man stood up, his voice often a reminder of the past burdened by wisdom. "This darkness that we navigate, could it not rend our souls asunder? Each moment of struggle is a grueling weight pressing down. How then can one seek the beacon of hope yet remain unscathed?" The being stepped forward, flourishing with a constellation of radiance that seemed to weave between the listeners like threads of connection. "To endure is to embrace a delicate balance. Embracing your pain neither diminishes you nor forsakes you to it. Rather, it grants you an opportunity to uncover who you were, who you are, and who you are meant to become. Within the heart of struggle lies the richest soil for growth. A murmur of understanding swept through the gathering as the impending night seemed to nestle closer around them. It was the voice of a child, a shy, tremulous sound breaking through the mature contemplations. But what if none of us can find the light? What if we just stay in the dark? Is smiling at each other enough to keep the shadows away? The heavenly being glinted, a twinkle in its mysterious eyes. Ah, sweet child, the journey out of darkness is not solely paved by the strength of an individual but by the woven fabric of community. Each smile passed from one to another acts as a flicker that brightens another's flame. If one stumbles, another may catch their fall. The crowd reflected on this notion, contemplating the delicate interconnectedness of their lives. Scattered so far apart yet tethered by unseen strings, each soul represented a note in a grand symphony, a melody only truly realized when played together. But as they marveled at their potential for harmony, a solemn reality emerged hauntingly: what if some notes could never find their place? A woman, eyes soaked with older sorrows, asked earnestly, "And what of those who walk alone in their suffering, those we may not perceive? Are they abandoned to the darkness? What becomes of the forgotten?" A hush fell, the smooth surface of understanding interrupted by the ripples of this heartfelt concern. The celestial being gazed into the depths of the woman's piercing question, as if it were exploring the landscape of every soul in the assembly. Illumination often finds its way to the broken-hearted, but it is your sacred duty to reach beyond your own pain. A simple act of reaching for another can unearth the warmth of belonging for you both. Through the power of listening, of seeing, and of being present, the lost are often discovered once again. Yet, from the corners of the gathering, a deeper pondering lingered despite the offers of connection and shared experience. The anxious pull of solitude loomed larger than ever. How can the heart, heavy with grief, stretch its tendrils toward others when the weight of despair feels all-consuming? Does the promise of compassion hold true if it remains unshared? As the celestial being continued to cast a soft, radiant glow over the throng of seekers, an unexpected chill wrapped around the edges of their awareness. With hearts attuned to the questions that now nestled deeply within their beings, they sensed that the conversation might unveil more than just reflections of wisdom. It felt as though a veil was poised to be drawn back. One among the crowd, a man known for his boldness, seized this moment of tension. If we are called to connect with one another, what then do we do when connection brings pain? What happens when our hearts intertwine, yet the cost of that communion is the sorrow of loss, a loss that echoes through our very spirit? The heavenly being paused, allowing the weight of this query to settle like dew on the grass. Ah, my friend, therein lies the mystery of existence itself. To love is to dance upon the precipice of loss, yet it is also the singular force capable of transcending the depths of despair. Each relationship is an open window to both bright moments and shadowy trials. As the audience absorbed this idea, a young boy, small and earnest, ventured forth, "But what is the key to loving not just each other, but ourselves too? How does one hold tightly to love when the world seems to scream that we are unworthy?" The heavenly being smiled gently. To hold love for oneself is perhaps the most challenging testament of grace. You must recognize that within each flaw lies a seed of beauty. Every scar you bear has a story to tell, and every wound you carry invites healing, not as an end, but as a journey toward wholeness. Embrace your darkness as well as your light, for they are inseparable companions. The mention of wholeness, an echo of agreement coursed through the assembly, but a deeper unease remained lodged in their collective consciousness. An older woman with silver strands in her hair spoke, her voice a gentle echo of timeless wisdom. "But what if we find ourselves in that abyss you speak of? Those who stare into the void and see only despair, what is their hope then?" The being stepped closer, its luminous form rippling with a spectrum of colors that seemed to paint inspiration into the air. "Ah, the abyss, a vast expanse where fears and sorrows dwell. It is in this darkness that the most profound revelations can emerge. Within every heart lies a key that unlocks the door to understanding, compassion, and ultimately, acceptance of oneself. It is often in our deepest moments of despair that we find our truest selves. The abyss is not merely to be feared, but revered, for it too cradles the potential for rebirth. A swell of uncertainty danced through the group, diverging like a river seeking different pathways. Many had touched the precipice of their own abyss, feeling the pull of their shadows, and the promise of rebirth felt far off and elusive. Could one truly traverse the terrain of such depths and emerge transformed, or was it simply a poetic consolation? In a whisper, laden with a mingling of hope and trepidation, a figure at the edge of the crowd addressed the being once more. What of the keys you spoke of? Are they not held by the heavenly? Are we to believe that within the fabric of our struggles lies a mechanism of change? The being regarded the question with sincerity. The keys of the abyss lie not solely within celestial hands but within each of you. They are forged in the fires of your trials and polished by acts of resilience. Trust that as you reach into the depths, the key will reveal itself, not as a way out, but as a pathway toward deeper connection with your essence, and perhaps the essence of those you fear to connect with. As the notion of these keys settled upon their hearts, a wave of introspection coursed through the assembly. Each sought to envisage their individual trials as stories yet to be told, secrets still waiting to be uncovered. Yet the question that loomed within the folds of their minds persisted: if every heart held a key, what mystery awaited them in their own unknowns? Can vulnerability truly be the doorway to a greater light? As the crowd lingered in contemplative silence, the celestial being observed the myriad of emotions reflected upon their faces. The atmosphere, once buoyant with expectation, had now transformed into a tapestry of uncertainty, woven with threads of anxiety and hope alike. It was clear that while the promise of connection resonated deeply, the fear of what lurked in the depths of one's own heart was palpable. The older woman, emboldened by the exchange, spoke once more, her voice threaded with the wisdom of her years. If these keys are forged in our trials, how are we to wield them? How do we embark upon this deeply personal quest when the shadows whisper of failure? With a gentle gesture, the being beckoned her closer, drawing her into the warm luminescence of its presence. It is in surrendering to the journey that you may find strength. Imagine your struggles as stones along a path. Each stone invites you to pause, to feel. In this stillness, ask of them what lesson lies beneath. What truths await your discovery? The woman nodded, though uncertainty danced in her eyes, mirroring those of others in the crowd. A young man, eyes glimmering with the fire of unresolved dreams, interjected, and what if the stones become boulders, blocking our way? How do we shift them when we are alone in facing the storm? The being's glow pulsed softly, as if resonating with the vulnerability of his question. Ah, dear seeker, therein lies a profound truth. No journey is meant to be undertaken in solitude. Each stone or boulder encountered along your path is a call to reach out to others, to the divine, and to your own spirit. The key is found not just in the confrontation of trials, but in the invitation to share, to nurture, and to seek support. It is through togetherness that burdens are lightened. The murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly, yet an undercurrent of doubt remained. Could they really share the heaviness of their burdens with others when the specter of past rejection loomed large? An elderly man, his voice trembling at the edges, posed a lingering question: what if those we seek to connect with are also held captive by their own shadows? Can we truly form bonds when we're all grappling with our own darkness? The being's illumination seemed to gather strength, casting a radiant glow upon the man. Indeed, you speak of a profound truth. All hearts carry shadows. Yet, in recognizing your vulnerability, you invite others to share theirs. A sacred communion is formed in the acknowledgement of our shared humanity. The darkness you perceive in another may be a reflection of your own, and in this mirroring, the potential for compassion unfolds. It becomes a bridge rather than a barrier. As these words settled among them, the weight of shared experiences drew the seekers together, weaving a silent tapestry of unity in their shared despair and hope. Yet, behind their longing for bonds lay an unresolved tense hesitance to embrace connection, fearing the pain that love could also entail. In the stillness, a voice from the rear called out, but where do we find the strength to face such shared shadows? How do we navigate the risk of opening our hearts when the world often feels so cruel? The being turned, its form shifting into hues that reflected the ebb and flow of emotion, embodying the very essence of their uncertainty. The strength to face your darkness lies not in seeking absolute safety, but in the courage to allow your heart to feel joy, pain, loss, and love. Take solace in knowing that every moment of vulnerability is a seed planted toward deeper connections. Remember, even in the depths of your abyss, there exists a spark of divine light ready to guide you. As the assembly simmered with newfound hope, the profound mystery of their shared journey remained. Each heart had unlocked a fragment of understanding, yet the question lingered: how does one intentionally engage with their shadows, and what hidden treasures might be discovered along the way as they dared to love both themselves and one another? As the air thickened with anticipation, the celestial being, still hovering in radiant glory, gazed upon the gathering with eyes that sparkled like the stars overhead. The weight of their collective fears had built a resonance, a symphony of hearts beating together. The being swirled gracefully, and as light poured forth like a cascading waterfall, it painted the world before them in hues of hope and possibility. Your questions are the seeds of transformation, it declared, its voice ringing with a celestial melody. In this moment of reckoning, you are called not just to confront the shadows within, but to embrace them, for they are your story, a narrative that intertwines with the stories of all those present here. A hush fell over the assembly as they absorbed the profound essence of the being's words. Fear and sorrow were not their sole companions, within each strife lay the potential for grace and understanding. One by one, they began to see the shape of their own narratives, wrought in the crucible of experience. The young girl, emboldened by the celestial presence, stepped forward once again. If we face our shadows and weave them into our stories, how do we know we've found the keys that unlock the beauty you speak of? Her question cut through the silence like a thread of gold, invoking a deep resonance among the gathered souls. The heavenly being regarded her with a soft smile, its light shimmering like dawn breaking over the horizon. You shall know the keys by the warmth they bring to your spirit. As you journey through your darkness, look for the moments of connection, the flickers of understanding, and the gestures of compassion, whether bestowed or received. The divine mystery lies in the relationships forged through vulnerability, a shared heartbeat that echoes through time and space. An elder, forthright and wise, rose to speak, his voice strong yet gentle. Then it is legacy we weave, is it not? A tapestry interlaced with the stories of our scars and triumphs alike. The assembly nodded in agreement, realizing that their individual journeys were but threads contributing to a communal masterpiece that spanned lifetimes, yet doubt lingered on the edges of their collective consciousness. But what of those who have lost their way? A weary woman asked softly, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Those whose burdens feel too heavy, their voices stifled by the darkness drowning them? Her words echoed the unspoken fears of many, and the being's gaze softened with compassion. Every heart is a sacred space, it responded, radiating warmth. Step lightly toward those who roam the shadows, your presence can be the light that offers solace. In reaching out, you give them a glimpse of hope, the understanding that they are not alone. Empathy is an ethereal thread that binds you to one another. Extend it not with the expectation to save, but with the sincerity to share. This, too, is love's dance. A flicker of realization appeared on the faces of the gathered souls, as understanding washed over them like waves on a shore. Each act of compassion, each empathetic gesture transformed their individual experiences into shared stories, stitched together in a fabric as diverse as humanity itself. Eager to further explore this theme, a courageous young man spoke up. Can we also find strength by allowing others to carry our burdens with us? Is it a weakness to lean on one another when the weight becomes unbearable? The celestial being shimmered and drew closer, enveloping those gathered in a warm embrace of light. To lean upon one another is not a sign of weakness but rather a recognition of your interconnectedness. Vulnerability paves the way to healing, for in sharing your struggles, you not only receive but teach others how to love through their own darkness. These words stirred something deep within the assembly, igniting sparks of hope. They began to share not only their fears but their desires for connection and understanding. The narrative of otherness started to dissolve, and in its place emerged a shared humanity wrought from pain and triumph. And in that gathered light, a voice rang clear: what if we embrace the idea that our shadows are also our teachers? What if each trial encourages us to become the mirror reflecting another's truth? With that, the heavenly being began to sway, its luminous form pulsing with life. Indeed, the light and the darkness are sisters, each revealing the other. In returning to your own shadows, you will unlock passages within yourselves that resonate with the stories of others. For in the very act of healing, together, you will unveil the most radiant truths. The crowd appeared transformed, their faces reflected belief and wonder intertwined. For it was no longer merely a question of facing their fears, it was about inviting others to share in the beauty of their human experience. They felt entwined, their hearts synchronized in a rhythm that spoke of hope and restoration. As they stood in this moment of revelation, the celestial being slowly raised the ancient key that shimmered in its luminous grasp. With a ripple of energy, the air vibrated with the intensity of their collective passion and vulnerability. "Embrace the abyss as a sacred pilgrimage," it declared, "for it is in the woven stories of light and darkness that you shall discover what the key unlocks." Tears glimmered like dew in their eyes as they realized the emergent power they held. This key was not merely an object but a metaphor challenge inviting them to delve into the depths of their being. The beauty and the burden, the chaos and the calm within it lay the fundamental essence of existence, transformation through unity. In that sacred moment, the crowd collectively understood every soul, bearing their own key, had the power to unearth truths long buried, hidden secrets, and the promise of renewal. Their pasts merged into a present rich with potential, leading toward a future luminous with hope. They turned toward one another, hearts ablaze with purpose, ready to share the burden some had carried in silence, prepared to illuminate the path for others, and to embrace the beauty of their scars as a testament to resilience. The celestial being stood witness to their transformation, its radiance bathing them in divine affirmation, sealing this moment in the fabric of time. And as they moved forward, the powerful revelation echoed in their hearts: the abyss is not the end but a beginning. In the intertwining of each story, love springs forth, becoming the greatest key of an unyielding force that forges connection, compassion, and light in a world often cloaked in shadows. With a final shimmering gesture, the heavenly being bid them farewell, leaving behind a thread of light that connected them to the endless cosmos. And in that fleeting moment, where earth met heaven, a profound truth took root within their souls. Together, they would face the abyss, together they would rise, transformed not by what lay beyond but by the love kindled within.